Time now for our thought for the day, thought for the week, and with me, Lama Jampa Thaye. Good morning to you.
Good morning.
Your thought for the week, sir, is...
The poet Keats famously declared, "Beauty is truth, but I'm not so sure about that anymore. Look around and you'll find that beauty can be most deceiving. It can take a hold of your heart through your eyes, but it may just be a trick of the lens. There's nothing real there at all, just another lie for which you've fallen." However, it's not just physical appearances. Nowadays, it's so bad that you can feel you're living in a world full of lies where everybody's got something to sell. Advertising signs compete to convince you that you're the one who can do what's never been done, who can win what's never been won. Politicians buy your vote with a wallet stuffed full of deceit, and philosophers rebrand death merely a termination. Is it any wonder it's difficult to believe anything any longer? Yet I happen to think that the worst deceivers of all are those who deceive by pretending to be religious masters. You see them everywhere. Preachers preaching nothing but spiritual pride, fake gurus and false healers. They're apostles of peace, but they can't control their own minds. They're guides of the soul, but they know nothing of any spiritual path. They're best-selling authors, but they've never written a single word themselves. Now, when an ordinary confidence trickster, a politician, for instance, lies to you, he's deceiving you only for this life. But when someone lies to you in the name of religion, he's deceiving you for the next one as well. Perhaps that's why there's really no one more worthy of condemnation than a person who uses the guise of religion to abuse others. After all, who could be a greater deceiver than the one who promises to heal your soul but only wants to get his hands on your body? And who could be a greater thief than the one who steals the good name of religion to cover his crimes? When authentic religion disappears, man ends up worshipping only his own reflection, and the inconvenient and the powerless are abandoned to the merciless god of self-indulgence. So now, when there are already many enemies of religion, it's vital that we reject the example of those who deceive in the name of religion, lest it perish at our own hands. Instead, with modesty and integrity, we should return to the teachings and examples of the great masters who established our traditions and rededicate ourselves to the welfare of all. Then, if people see that we really practice what we preach, maybe they will listen to our words once more and thus come to behold the beautiful face of the truth itself.
Your thoughts for the day from Lama Jampa Thaye here on BBC Radio Manchester. Thought-provoking indeed. Time is pressing, I'm afraid, but I've asked all my other guests, and it would be inappropriate not to ask you for your memories of 9/11.
I was sitting at home. I just bought the new Bob Dylan record. I've just finished listening to it, and a friend of mine rang and said, "Turn on the TV," and there were the pictures of the towers.
And you knew somebody who was there?
Actually, later on in the States, I got to know somebody who became one of my Buddhist students and friends, and he told me his story of 9/11, and it's really actually astonishing. He was working in the North Tower that day on the 78th floor with a blind colleague. 8:45, all hell broke loose. They didn't know what it was. A huge explosion, the building started to veer one way and the next, and then stopped. And their first thought was it's a gas explosion. Astonishingly, rather than get out, they decided to turn their computers off so they could come back and get them later. Then they started a long trek. The elevator was completely unavailable because, of course, the actual explosion went right down the elevator. So together with his blind companion and his guide dog, David started to walk down. It was a long and torturous process. By the time they reached the 40s, they saw for the first time the firemen rushing up there. David said he'd never seen such brave guys, carrying 75 pounds of equipment. Of course, they all perished to get up to that 90th floor where the actual explosion, where the actual crash had been. People were astonishingly kind. There was no panic. Gradually, these stairs got fuller and fuller, but people helped them. So after 45 minutes, David and his friend Mike had got down to the bottom, but the hell hadn't stopped. They got outside that building. David turned around to take a photograph, and then the North Tower started to collapse. That was for the first time when David felt that he and his friend were going to die. He prayed. Somehow they got into some kind of underground mall and they were saved. But it's an astonishing story, a story of kindness on this most terrible of kindness and heroism on that most terrible of days.
And thank you very much indeed for sharing it with us. Good to see you, Lama Jampa Thaye, here on BBC Radio Manchester. Thank you for your company this morning. Gordon Burns is next between 9 and 11. I'm back tomorrow lunchtime between 12 and 2. Have a good Sunday.
3 little birds